everyone, it's Nick from New Life Church. Welcome to today's children's service, and today we want to talk to you about a story that Jesus told. But like a lot of stories that Jesus told, they had a meaning. And today we're not only going to talk about the story, but we're going to explain what Jesus meant when he told the story. So, we've been in lockdown for quite a while. Some people might even be going back to school over the next week or so. But one thing I can say is, in our house, we've been watching a lot of television. And, like most of you, I'm sure, we've got a remote control for our television. And one day I was sat down, Jonah and Alba, the kids had gone to bed, Steph had gone to bed, and I was just all on my own, and I thought, I'm going to watch some telly. And I picked up the remote control, and I pushed the button. Nothing happened. So what I did was, I do what all grown-ups do, push the button a little bit harder. And nothing happened. And I pushed the button a little bit harder, and nothing happened. And then, because grown-ups are clever and we know what we're doing, this sort of thing, I took the back off, and I jiggled up the batteries, thinking, if I move the batteries a little bit, that'll make it work. And I put it down, and I pushed the button, and nothing happened. Because the batteries, they were flat. They had no power in them. They didn't work. So I never got to watch television because I don't really know how to control the television without a remote control, and I couldn't find any batteries, a power source everywhere. And it's the same with mobile phones. So I've got Steph's mobile phone here, and it has absolutely no charge at all. It's flat. It won't work. She can't go on Facebook. She can't look at the news. It isn't working. You need to plug it in, and you need to charge it, and that's the only way you're going to be able to get your mobile phone to work. Jesus didn't tell many stories about mobile phones. He didn't tell many stories about television remote controls either. But he did tell a story saying that I am the vine and you are the branches. What did Jesus mean by that? Well, I like eating food. Any food will do, but I like eating fruit. And one of my favourite fruits are grapes. I love eating grapes, and I can eat grapes all day, every day. I don't know if you like grapes, red grapes, green grapes. Seedless grapes are my favourite because you don't have the pips to worry about. Grapes grow on a vine, and as they grow big, they grow juicy, they grow plump, they look amazing, and they taste absolutely incredible. And they grow on vines. And Jesus said, I'm the vine, and we're the branches that the grapes grow on. I wonder what he can mean. Well, these grapes have come off the vine, but they're still lovely and plump and juicy and yummy to eat. But eventually, they're going to dry out. They're going to wither. And these are little raisins. And some people like raisins, but they're not the same. They're not as nice as a beautiful, living, gorgeous grape that's been growing on a vine. You see, what Jesus is saying there is we need to stay connected to him. We need to spend time with him through listening to Bible stories, through reading Bible stories if we're big enough, through praying, and through listening to his voice. See, Jesus said, I'm the vine, you're the branches, and we need to stay connected. Just like my television remote control is completely useless without any power. Well, as Christians, we're not as helpful or useful or as powerful as we could be unless we stayed connected to Jesus. Same as a mobile phone. It's useless without any power. And as Christians, we believe that Jesus is the one we need to be following. And Jesus is the one we need to be listening to. And Jesus is the example that we need to follow. And Jesus said, I'm the vine. We need to stay connected to that vine so we can continue to be like grapes. Listening to Jesus, spending time with Jesus. I know it's bad to talk with your mouth full, I'm sorry. But Jesus is the vine, we're the branches, and Jesus is where we get our power from. And Jesus is the one that's going to help us grow like those beautiful grapes growing on that vine. And today, that's what we're going to be looking at. So, thank you very much, and I'll see you all soon.
I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener.
Hello everybody. I thought this morning I'd start by showing you my roses. Don't you think they're very beautiful? And they smell gorgeous as well. But roses are a bit like a tree that Jesus talked about, a vine. Now, roses, if you look after them properly, you get lots and lots and lots of beautiful flowers. You see those? They're rather pretty, aren't they? And you have to look after your rose tree. So when the flowers are dying off, I have to get my snippers out and snip off the dead heads. So that one's nearly had it. We'll snip it off there and throw that away. And then more flowers will come. I don't know if you can see, there's lots of buds on there. And in the winter, when all the flowers have gone, you have to do something called pruning. And that means cutting lots of these stems off right down low, and then next year they'll grow strong. I didn't prune it very well last year, and this year they're all a bit leggy and floppy. And the winds made them flop over a lot because they weren't strong enough to stand up. And Jesus talks about himself as being like a vine tree. Now, the difference between a vine and a rose is, on a vine, you don't get lots of beautiful flowers, but you get something that's really useful. You get lovely big bunches of grapes, green ones and red ones, black ones. Yummy, I love grapes. And Jesus, talking to his special friends, his disciples, he said, he's like a tree, he's like a vine. And his Father God, is like the gardener. And sometimes he prunes the tree. Jesus said he's like the tree and we are like the branches. And if we're not pruned, we'll become floppy branches and we won't stand up straight in the wind. So what does that mean? It means that sometimes we have to see hard things, go through hard things. Some of us have found it hard in these last few weeks to not be at school, or to be at school when nobody else is at school, and not to see our friends and not to be able to play with our friends. But Jesus can use that to make us stronger. And the fruit that we have to come out of our lives aren't bunches of grapes. We don't suddenly hold our hand out and a bunch of grapes will grow. But Jesus said we have to have fruit in our lives. Now, some of you might be able to tell me what that fruit is, because we used to sing some songs about it. And it's found in the book of Galatians in the New Testament. And this is what Paul says about the fruit. He says, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience. We've had to have some of that recently, I think. Kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Some of those are big words and some of those are hard words. But we learn about how to become better people by having the fruit of the Spirit. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi New Life kids, let's do some worship. Go and grab an adult that you can dance with and let's have some fun. Cheerio!